So this lecture is going to talk about salespeople, also known as personal sales, which is one of the components of the promotional mix: advertising, public relations, sales promotion, and personal sales. So as we've mentioned in the integrated marketing campaign lecture, salespeople were more common in the business-to-business channel. Why? Because in the business-to-business channel, it's an ongoing relationship. It's not a one-time sale. So you sell somebody a pair of shoes, they buy the shoes, they're gone. Salespeople are usually set up by territories in the business-to-business sector. In consumer goods, salespeople are more common when it's an expensive product or there's a lot of risk associated with the product. The definition for personal sales is direct spoken communication between buyer and seller. So the salesperson has the authority to sell you the product directly. So let's look at some of the learning objectives and then dive into common types of salespeople and how they're compensated. These are your learning objectives. There's just two this week for this lecture. So understand the different types of salespeople. Some have different skill sets and requirements and responsibilities than others. And there's different ways that we can compensate salespeople, and that motivates different types of behavior. So here you see your three different types of salespeople, and it depends upon what kind of direct selling you need between the buyer and the seller. So let me start with the one in the upper left there, the order getter or order getting. This is somebody who's basically responsible for generating new business. Oftentimes it's called new business development. So this is a highly skilled salesperson, a seasoned salesperson, and they're responsible for going out and meeting with clients and establishing new sales, landing new clients. When I worked for my very first advertising, my second advertising agency, DeZino & Partners, we had a new business development person, and their job was to go out and meet with clients in the San Diego area and try to convince them to hire our advertising agency and leave the one that they were currently working with. So this is a more seasoned salesperson, and they're usually highly compensated based on the sales that they can generate for the agency. Going to the upper right of this graph here, you see order taking. An order taking salesperson is somebody who is managing an existing route. So the order getter might bring in a new client, get them all set up, and then a lower level salesperson is going to maintain that account. Say, for example, going back to MiraCosta, and it's a company that supplies printer cartridges and toner for the copy center. It might be an order getter that came in and originally landed the MiraCosta account and wrestled it away from whoever had the MiraCosta account before. But then once that account is landed, then it's going to be handed off to an order taking person who's coming in, weekly interfacing with the client, making sure that their supplies are good and see if they need anything new. And then the third category of salesperson, or really supporting sales, is the support person itself. So they're the ones that are part of a sales force, but they're playing a supporting role. That can be administrative, and they're handling calls and setting up appointments and basically making sure that the salespeople have everything they need to continue doing their business. They might also be taking calls and taking lead generation for new clients. So those are your three types of salespeople, and you can see it's from the most skilled and experienced to the least as we go from order getter, order taker, and supporting sales. I mentioned order getters develop new business relationships, look for new opportunities, and get new clients. There's different sales organization structures, and these can be large. You look at a company like Avon, and they have thousands and thousands of employees. And here's why salespeople, and particularly commissioned salespeople, can be such a wonderful thing for companies. If you're a company and you're trying to establish your brand in a new market, maybe you're going into a new country, and you hire a bunch of salespeople, and these salespeople are paid strictly off a commission, meaning if they don't sell anything, they make zero. But if they do sell things, they get a pretty healthy commission. And a straight commission is usually a strong commission. You can be up to, 50% of each sale. So they're going to get some large numbers. So what does it cost the company to hire this sales force and go into a new market if those salespeople don't sell anything? It costs them zero, right? With a straight commission sales structure. Setting up sales territories and salespeople who are highly compensated through commission can be a way for companies to enter new markets without assuming a lot of risk. They're not manufacturing product and putting into retail stores and hope that it's going to sell and maybe have to, take the product back based on whatever contract they made with the retailer. So they only have to output product and pay salespeople if they're selling product, right? So this is where direct sales can be a wonderful tool, because companies have figured out that they can bypass retailers and have these sales forces work directly with customers. Looking at the graph here, if you look at 3 o'clock, major accounts sales force. So in many companies, they'll have the most seasoned people that'll handle the major accounts. For example, when I worked for Jack in the Box corporate office, we had, over 2,200, and I think now we're over 2,500 restaurants, throughout the west and the south of the United States. That's a lot of restaurants. And, we poured Pepsi at the time, and they had a major accounts salesperson that oversaw our account. So this is a more senior salesperson, and if we needed something done, it got done, right? Versus, say, by comparison, somebody who's managing, the South Bay territory in San Diego and all of the convenience stores in that area. They're not a major accounts salesperson. So again, the major accounts tend to be, there can be even a team of people. There might be an order getter and an order taker, and they might have a team of salespeople. So oftentimes they're set up by major accounts sales forces. And salespeople typically have a territory. Now, how do you determine the size of the territory that a salesperson can handle, right? Well, are they going out and getting new business, order getter, or are they managing existing business, an order taker? So the sales force size and workload depends on things like how many customer contacts do you expect that salesperson to make in a workday, in an 8-9 hour shift? How many salespeople, how many clients do you expect them to interface with or cold call? And how much time do they need to spend with each client? So it's going to depend upon what their workload is. Are they supposed to spend an hour with each customer? For example, if you were servicing the MiraCosta account as an order taker, and you had to go in and check their toner supplies and meet with the copy center manager and also meet with the IT department and see how they're doing on printer cartridges for all the printing stations they have around campus. It's going to be probably at least an hour each time you meet with your client, MiraCosta, and you're probably going to need to meet with them each week. So if you had a series of clients like that, then you probably can't, if each one's an hour plus some drive time in between, you probably can't meet with more than 6 clients per day. And if you expand that out over the course of a week, 6 times 5 days, you have a maximum number of clients that you can manage on a given week of 30 clients, right? So that helps determine the size of your sales story. How many clients do we have or hope to have in the San Diego market? Is it hundreds? Well, then we're going to need more than one salesperson, and we're going to need to break up the San Diego market into some different sales territories. So you see there's a limit to how big of a territory a salesperson can oversee. Companies also use team selling. Well, there'll be a team of people responsible for landing accounts. That kind of somewhat lines up also with major accounts. And salespeople want the most profitable sales territories, right? When I was working as a regional marketing manager at Jack in the Box, I had the Southern California region that was everything south of, is actually south of LA. LA was its own territory. So I had San Diego and all the way out to the border of included El Centro, but not Yuma. The highest performing restaurants in the entire company of over 2,200 restaurants were in El Centro, and that was in my territory. And the other regional marketing manager who had Arizona and some of the other parts of the Southwest had Yuma, and that regional marketing manager was always trying to add El Centro to her territory because it was closer, and I had to drive quite a bit of ways to go out to El Centro. But I made sure that I always kept El Centro in my territory because it was the highest performing, and it definitely helped my sales and my bonus structure. So there's territories, there's competition among salespeople, and this brings us to how they are compensated. So this slide is telling you, it depends on what they're doing as to far as how many clients and how big of a territory they can manage. But we also want to look at how they're being compensated can determine the types of behaviors that those salespeople are going to do. And that brings us to different compensation methods. So flexibility versus simplicity. The most common way that salespeople are paid is through a combination plan. That means they have some type of baseline salary, a survival wage, and then they have a commission on top of that. Some companies pay straight commission. So you only make money if you sell a product. Now, when you have a straight commission structure, if they're not selling anything, you can see here on this graph the sales volume. If the sales volume is 0, then your total selling expense is 0. However, if you have some really strong performing salespeople and they're killing it and selling a lot of product, then a straight commission is going to cost you the most, right, as their volumes go up. The green one is straight salary. They get paid the same regardless if they sell 0 or if they sell 100,000. So that's obviously the most expensive. If they're selling nothing, you still have to pay them a salary, right? Hence, most companies using a combination plan. But you can see how different compensation methods would drive different behaviors. If you're paying your salespeople straight commission, they are going to be highly motivated to generate new sales and write new contracts. And they're going to do whatever it takes to get new contracts signed, and whatever the requirements are that they have to be a client and place X amount of order or be a client for X amount of time, they're going to do that. That straight commission salesperson is going to be very disinterested in any after sales support that that customer might want. So maybe you land the account, but then the account has a bunch of questions and they want you to come back out and service their account or show them how to operate this new thing that they bought that you just sold them. The salesperson who's straight commission is not going to be motivated to go out and do any after sales support of the client because they're not getting paid for it, right? They're getting paid on straight commission. So if you, as a sales organization, have products that do need after sales support, like maybe going back to MiraCosta in the copy center, if you sell the MiraCosta copy center, a giant new state-of-the-art copy machine, well, they're probably going to need some training. They're going to need some after sales support. That copy machine is going to need to be restocked with toner, and that salesperson is going to have to be coming back after the sale to conduct those trainings and that additional support. So if they were paid on a straight commission, that's going to be a problem because they're not going to want to provide that after sales support. So you have to think about what type of product are we selling. Maybe you're selling bundled packages of cell phone plan minutes, and you have salespeople on the phone and they're calling local businesses and they're just selling these packages of minutes, bundled packages. And cell phone providers do this from time to time. Straight commission would make sense because there is no need for any after sales support. So if you have a lot of after sales support, then you'd probably want a straight salary. You know, it's mostly servicing existing accounts, and that case, you're going to have to do a lot of after sales support. The sales are pretty established. Well, then it wouldn't make sense to give them a straight commission because they're getting a commission on existing accounts that are already in place. That doesn't make sense. So that makes more sense if they have a straight salary. Again, combination plan. So most salespeople want some level of survival wages and the opportunity for commission on top of that. Different compensation methods are going to motivate different behaviors from your salespeople. So you need to know what your products are, what kind of after sales support you need before you set up your compensation methods. All right, my friends, so that's it on salespeople, personal sales. You've got a quiz, and again, that step 4 of the marketing plan due this week. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.